Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri, and is the world's first single barrel only liquor store. This store is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot. Get signed up for their email distribution list to find out when the store will be opening, what their hours will be, and most importantly, what they will have in inventory at abvbarrelshop.com. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the Bourbon Show, starring Steve Akeley, Renee Howe. Today on the show, we're talking with Mike Montgomery, CEO and co-founder of Blue Run Spirits. My name is Jeremy Schell. Let's start the show.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey, guys.
Happy V-Day Day for Canadians out there.
At the time we're recording, it's V-Day Day.
It's Happy
It's
V-Day.
a long weekend. Yeah. It's the official start of fireworks season here in Canada.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So this kicks it off.
Non-stop fiirworks now until, after
4th of
Labor
July.
Day.
4th of July.
Celebrating Queen Victoria. So, congratulations.
Queen Victoria.
Yeah, it works out well, though. And just to update the audience so they always know what's going on. Renee, hasn't been on everyone. It's because she has a job and she's not always available during the day. So, we have to do the interviews when we can. And we hate when Renee's not on. We absolutely hate it, but we have to do it. So hopefully
the show must go on.
The show must go on.
The show must go on.
Yeah, yeah. But today's a good day because Renee's here. So I'm looking forward to this.
I am here. Yeah. I'm excited too.
Yeah, I just spent a little bit of time in Alaska, and my sister lives there. She's lived there for almost 25 years now. She initially had moved to Anchorage, but I met a man that lived in Fairbanks and got married and moved there. And then she's lived in Fairbanks probably 22 years out of the 25, a long time. And it's fun. So I go up there every once in a while, but I hadn't been there in a long time, and got to hang out. And I was coming up there. And of course,
hang out at their house. Is it one of those classic 2-story igloos kind of?
Yes, that's what they got. They joked about that.
It's a Canadian style Tudor home.
Yes. Yeah. So they've got, but as we laugh about this, they've got my brother-in-law owns, and my sister-in-law both, but my brother-in-law is the guy who manages it, and this is their day-to-day. They run a general store, and what's a general store? That sounds like an old-timey. Is it a touristy thing? And it's not a touristy thing at all. It's actually in a community that it's truly a general store where it supports the community. It's really the only store that many people in that community ever go to. So it carries a little bit of everything. And you're talking about a community that doesn't have electricity and bathrooms. They just have cabins in Alaska. So, they've got shower facilities, and they sell car parts even. And you name it. They've got a little bit of everything there, including a liquor store. So I got to spend some time, learning about alcohol and bourbon.
So what you're saying is, of course you found the local liquor store.
I did, of course. Yeah. We went around and we did a little bourbon hunting, which is kind of cool. We had some success. I'll talk about that when we get to what we acquired recently.
So what time is it? The sun always up now, or is it dark?
Yes, it's 24 hours a day sunlight.
So how do you get there early in the morning before the releases come out? I mean, how do you know what time to get there?
Right. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night and you're sitting around talking. And you're like, what time is it? What, 6 o'clock? No, it's 11 o'clock at night. So it's as light as can be.
Do they have like blackout shades and stuff like that in their house?
No. Alaska, everything's a big facade. It's like, you get used to it. No, you don't. I don't get used to it. Again, maybe I'm not long enough out there to get used to it. And they just have like regular shades and the sun comes in and it's, it's
you
there.
Just turn the tint up on your glasses and just make it darken your glasses.
Right. I darken my glasses. Okay. Apparently my sister wears one of those old time masks, like they used to wear in the 20s.
Mask, yeah.
She wears one of those because the light comes in. So I didn't have one of those, but so that's interesting. And Alaska, they don't, outsiders aren't really a thing. And my brother-in-law said that we've got a Fairbanks whiskey club. You should join the club. And I did. There's no approval. It's just, it's a private group, but it's one of those, it's automatic approval. So I joined the group and I post out there that, hey, I do a bourbon podcast and that, and I'm coming up and I'd like to talk with you guys about whiskey. Anybody want to get together and go to a bar or something like that? And the guy throws me out of there. Said, you're not an interior Alaska resident. And then my brother-in-law, because I'm blocked, he blocks me from this thing. And then I see the post afterwards. There was a scammer that was in here recently, and we apologize. We will do more to make sure we vet out people as they come in. A scammer? What? I wasn't scamming anybody out of anything.
Oh my God.
Now the truth about Steve Akeley's coming out.
And you know who can detect that? The Alaskans. They know it.
Yeah, they knew.
They smell it.
They knew I was trouble. Yeah. But the neatest thing was my brother-in-law is not into bourbon. And you might say, well, he owns a liquor store, so he's got to know about, but he's in charge of a lot of things. I mean, there's a gas station there and there's a laundromat there and there's grocery store. He's got to do all those things. Bourbon probably, is a part of what he does, but it's a small part. So what he let me do, which is very cool, when I got to go there on his distributor day.
He let you stock the shelves, and I don't think that was something fun to do.
He let me meet with the distributors, which was cool.
Wow,
so I helped him out a lot. And, he never even knew what to ask for. He didn't know it was hot or anything like that. So, I got him to carry seagrass and, I also asked the Buffalo Trace guy, what's available? He's like, nothing. And I'm like, well, let's go through line by line. Can they get Weller? And he's like, nope. And I said, well, what about the special reserve? Well, you can get 1 bottle a week. I'm like, he'll take 1 bottle a week. And what about Eagle Rare?
Yeah.
Eagle Rare. Well, that's also 1 bottle a week. Well, then he wants his 1 bottle a week. So my brother-in-law ordered all the things that I said. And the cool thing was he texted me and I wasn't even back like 3 days. And he texted me and said, all that stuff that you brought in sold out already. And he's like, this is really helpful.
Don't get it.
Yeah.
Oh, so, awesome.
So it's really cool. And I helped him out with that kind of stuff a lot. And I think he's a little bit fired up about bourbon now. He wants to come down to Kentucky, Royce Neely called him. He's talking to Royce, and Royce is talking, we can come down and shoot guns down here. No, my brother-in-law, this is right up his wheelhouse. This is what he likes to do. So, but Alaska, it's interesting. Like I said, it was fun to go to and search the stores, and it was neat. It was really a different experience.
Nice.
And, different. Yeah. They appreciate bourbon up there, but they're also seem to be more into like the Irish whiskey and Scotch. So there was opportunities to find some bourbon there. So that was neat. And, So
apparently they scrutinize the outsiders a little bit more than they do around here.
They definitely do that. So
I mean, you don't stand in the crowd, so I don't know why they would scrutinize you.
Yeah. You would think with the beard, they'd be like, "Oh, you're from Alaska." Not so much. So, all right, it is time to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start with Renee. Renee, what do you got?
Well, I've got the James B. Beam Distilling Co. Double Oak.
Stop it! No.
Jim Beam on the show. Yeah. What does it say on the label?
It says Jim Beam.
Yes.
There you go.
Exactly.
It's not a tongue twister. And this is a twist cap, so
screw top. Okay.
That double oak's pretty good though. It's not.
I like it too. Yeah,
it's good.
I like this one. This is my favorite.
And the price is good. The price is good. Yeah. I've got one here that I thought was appropriate, and of course, this is a preview of something I'll talk about later when we talk about acquisitions. This is not
awesome.
Here, but this is a Cream of Kentucky 11.5 year from our friend Jim Rutledge, who plays in today's story. Here we go. Quiet, easy to beat, but let's see. Maybe Jeremy's doing a sample. Jeremy, you got a sample you want to drink today?
It's a large 750 bottle sample of the Four Roses.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you got Mike muffled there. It was quiet on this end. Was it loud there by you, Jeremy?
It was loud. I think the mic toned it down.
The mic it sounded like a cutout. We're still say Jeremy's going to win because mine was bad. So I think Jeremy's bad, but it wasn't as bad as it sounded to you folks. It was.
I hear that told about me all the time. So yes,
so
I'll take it.
Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Well, Renee, it is now time to put someone in the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame. Who's going in today?
Okay. Today's inductee had a 34-year career as a chemist at Brown-Forman, which was notable as she was the first African-American female to work in such a capacity at the company and perhaps the industry. She is a pioneer opening the doors for others to follow in the bourbon industry, and she's also an individual known for her art, which she focused on after retiring, and a warm and friendly demeanor. If you meet this individual, you can't help but love her. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame inductee number 111 is Miss Elmer Lucille Allen.
Hello. Congratulations.
Bravo.
Right.
Yes. So I've had the pleasure of meeting her at an event, and she's a treasure. And I'd love to have her on the show. She gave me her email address, and I'm still trying to track her down and trying to, love to get her on at any point. She's in her 90s, but still goes to events and stuff like that. Really cool. Jeremy, have you ever got the chance to cross paths with her?
I met her briefly at one event at corporate office. This would have been probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But now she gave her your email, and you're still trying to track her down. Maybe was it a phone number? Like
she might have given me her fake email. She might have given me her fake email. So I got the email, but she hasn't responded.
Fatchance.com.
Yeah. I asked her, like, do you do a Zoom interview? And, and she's in her 90s. I'm not, she said, I don't know if she does this or interested. She said, yeah. And she said she'd do it, but she hasn't responded yet. So I'm going to say maybe she's busy and stuff. So,
yeah, that was her polite way of saying,
it probably was. And I'm okay with that.
Get the heck out of here. Yeah. That's fine.
I'd be happy to do it. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. I'd be happy to do it. Yes.
Yeah, I get that. That's okay. So congratulations to her. She definitely belongs in the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame. So whether she comes on the show or not, that has nothing to do with it. She goes in based on the merit of her work, and she was a groundbreaker and pioneer. So congratulations to her. If you've got someone you'd like to nominate, send us an email, bourbonshowhof@gmail.com. All right. It is now time for acquisition talk. What have you guys acquired?
I haven't gotten anything, and I'll be honest, I just don't have time anymore to go look for whiskey.
The life of having a job. Time. Yeah, having
a job. I mean, again, I'm still looking for a way to get paid and not work, but it's cutting into everything else.
My brother-in-law, as we were going out, we were there at a good time when Colonel E.H. Taylor was hitting. So we got a couple small batch. I've got a single barrel, which I haven't bought an E.H. Taylor single barrel at the store in years. So that was amazing to even see that. And it's such a great story too. So I go to check out, and it's not in the system. And the guy says, please, I got more customers. Would you mind just stepping aside? We'll deal with this in a second. It takes like 20 minutes. I'm just standing there waiting because more customers keep coming in. And finally there's a break, and he scans it again, like it's changed in the last 20 minutes and nothing. And he says, buddy, I don't know. What do you give me for it? And I said, $50. And he says, cash, and you've got a deal. I couldn't get the $50 out quick enough. I almost broke my arm, Renee, trying to reach into my pocket.
Will you take nickels and dimes? Because I got a pocket full of them today.
Got a whole.
I'll tell you what. The funny thing was, my brother-in-law, also a big guy. All of a sudden, he comes running up from the back of the store. He hears $50. He's peeling it out of his wallet. I had to hurry up and get it out of mine and hit the counter first because he wanted it. Yeah, so.
Wow, awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I got that, and then also as I was drinking the Cream of Kentucky today, I maybe I missed this one. I can't say I follow Cream of Kentucky all the time, but they had a bottled and bond Cream of Kentucky there, so I bought that too. So I don't have that one, and I picked that up. So I brought that back.
Nice.
Haven't cracked it yet, but that's awesome. So that's what I got. Cool. Jeremy, how about you? Any cool acquisitions recently?
I got a couple new the bourbon releases from Mark and Sherry Carter over at the old Carter Whiskey Company. They're 14 years bourbons, but then I did one. I came across this President's Choice from 1964, and I had to pick it up. And it's in great condition. I'll have to post a photo of this here at some point in the near future. But it's the full size donut version of the President's Choice. It's not like the 375 that I got before. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
nice.
That's a great one for sure. So congrats on that. All right. Well, our guest today is the co-founder of one of the brands that has just catapulted to the top of the company's offering sourced whiskey. Jeremy, would you like to take us out to break?
Blue Run Spirits was founded on the idea of developing a brand that appeals to today's drinker. something that could expand the category. We'll talk to co-founder and CEO Mike Montgomery of Blue Run Spirits after the break.
Let's talk about the people who make these shows happen. First up is the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot in the greater St. Louis area. It is the most unique shopping experience in the world of bourbon, as the ABV Barrel Shop only focuses on single barrels. We aren't open just yet, but our plan is to have the most diverse single barrel offerings from our many friends in the world of bourbon. By signing up for a weekly email, you will know our entire inventory we have on hand. In addition to single barrels, we'll have a tasting bar and a gift shop featuring logo merchandise from both the shop and the ABV network, as well as a full curriculum of bourbon education classes. Additionally, we'll use the gift shop to feature products from our partners in the world of bourbon, companies like Art Eatable Chocolates and Old Man Bay Signs. Head over to ABV Barrel Shop to sign up for our email and text distribution list so you can stay in the know. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course, a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
Blue Run Spirits was founded as a way to create a modernized bourbon company with expressions that taste so rich and smooth that they would entice a new generation of enthusiasts, as well as satisfying the most discerning of aficionados. The banks of Kentucky's Rural Spring, what co-founder Jesse McKnight called the Blue Run as a kid, with its pure limestone filtered water, seemed like the perfect place to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Blue Run Spirits co-founder and CEO, Mike Montgomery.
Hey, Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Yeah, really looking forward to this. You know, we've known you for a long time. Again, going back to the early days when you were at our friend Neely Family Distillery. So I feel like I knew you guys from the ground floor. Seeing you guys come out. And,
you did actually. You did.
I know.
You saw us before. You knew us before we even launched.
Right. So that's been a kind of a cool thing to because, you know, a lot of brands come, but you guys have really, you know, struck a chord with bourbon fans, which is very cool. And you guys just continue to keep doing great things and coming out with new releases. And it seems like the excitement just continues to build and build and build. It's not like, it's a balloon and you let the air out and it's going. So it's exciting to talk to you today. And we're going to focus all of our attention from this point forward after this question on the business. But we always feel like it's a good idea to get to know our guests on a personal basis. It's good for our audience to say, all right, you know, who is Mike Montgomery? Well, let's get to know him as a person. Then we'll talk about the business. So if you don't mind, the first question is just that simple. Tell us about yourself.
I love talking about the business. I will talk about myself just a little bit, but I love talking about the business. So let's see where to start. I have been married for almost 15 years. We have an 11-year-old daughter in the 5th grade, about to graduate. She's the president of her school, which is really exciting.
Oh,
nice.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
I like to hear that.
Yep. And so that's kind of fun. So, you know, that keeps me extremely busy. When I'm, I guess when I have time, I love music. I love yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I love exercising. And what else? You know, I come from a political background. So prior to this, I was the running fundraising operations for 2 different fairly well-known California elected officials, or former elected official, and that's kind of me in a nutshell, really.
Nice. Always been a California resident?
No. So I'm from the great Pacific Northwest, from the Seattle area, and I was an econ major at the University of Washington. Go Huskies! And then after school, after I did some traveling around Mexico, Central and South America, I ended up in all places. I ended up in Lake Placid, New York.
Oh, nice.
Working for the Olympic canoe and kayak team. And I'm a big sports fan. And so that was fun, but it was pretty hard living in Lake Placid, which is a village, as you probably know. Yep. And it's astounding that this little village was able to host 2 different Olympic Games, because it's not big. Tough place for somebody in their 20s to live. So I then moved to San Francisco and spent a little over a decade there, and then met this girl who became my wife, who lived in Los Angeles, and now I live in LA.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you spent some time in Kentucky too, as well, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ongoing. That may be the true motherland, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you're talking,
it is the bourbon Mecca.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny because as you're talking about all these different places, and I did not grow up in Kentucky. I've been here. I've been a transplant here for a couple of decades. But having lived in a lot of different cities prior to coming to Kentucky, just like yourself, did you find anything that was just unique and special about the people here that you may not have found anywhere else?
Absolutely. There's, I guess, there's a warmth and a friendliness that I feel. It's almost like I spent a little bit of time in Indianapolis, and I remember being outside near downtown during a snowstorm, and I saw this FedEx guy who was walking. He was carrying 10 packages that went from his waist up to above his head, and he stopped as I walked by him. He stopped and looked at me and said hi. And I'm thinking, this guy is working really hard during a snowstorm. It's cold. It's 20 something degrees outside, and he took the time to stop and say hi to me. And I feel that is a very similar mindset in Kentucky. Yeah. And I know that, and I never really truly like to bring politics into this, but we all have a different perspective, at least on politics. And what I find, at least when I'm in Kentucky, is that that's not something that is really brought up or discussed. And I love that, because everybody comes from different places, everybody has different beliefs, but there's a warmth and a congeniality that I feel when I'm in Kentucky. And Jeremy, I don't know if you feel that too, but it really stands out to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I will share a real quick similar story, because growing up and living outside DC for a big part of my life, when I was only in Kentucky for about 11 minutes, and I walked into this little store, and a woman that was probably about my age just passed by and said hi. And being from DC, I was just kind of like, okay, hello.
What just happened?
Yeah, exactly. My fortunes are changing. This is great. And as I spent a few weeks here, it becomes something very, very, similar feeling everywhere I went. It was just like you said, it was very warm and inviting. People were friendly. There was more of a genuine, nothing against you. Just, hey, how you doing? You having a good day? And I went back home to DC, and I wasn't there 10 minutes. And I was finding myself like, hey, I can be nice. This is actually a good feeling to have this warm, welcoming, outgoing relations with other people in the world. And I wasn't back in DC more than 10 minutes. I said hi to somebody. I got the big FU on the metro. I thought, oh, it's good to be home. This is nice. Yeah, this is what I'm used to. So definitely.
What's funny is Renee's looking at us saying,
"That's Canada, man.
That's supposed to be everywhere."
Canadians are just always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll bump into you. You'll bump into us, and we'll say sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly. So kind of getting back to some other things. I mean, let's talk about Blue Run for a second. And one of the things kind of with this is we're always fascinated by, people either we find that they grow up somehow related to the industry, or they find their way into it just through some obscure path. And regardless of what they've done prior in their life, all those experiences, all those careers, all those interactions with people tend to help them in this journey and help them even move forward with their career in the bourbon and the rye whiskey industry. So can you talk to us about you, and you've got some partners, you got some people that are involved with you, kind of what you've all done in the past professionally that's now helping you in your day-to-day moving forward?
It's a really good question, Jeremy. And I think it's something that we put a lot of time and thought into as we were putting this together. We are non-traditional, right? We don't have, my last name isn't Foreman, and so, or any of the others. And so we had to do this in a unique way, or we weren't going to do it at all. And I think Steve knows this because he met Jesse McKnight very, very early on. And Jesse's kind of one of the anchors here. Jesse grew up, I was actually born in Georgetown, Kentucky. He and his brother John grew up there. John still lives there. But yeah, we don't have what I would call a traditional story that led us to where we are today. And that's kind of what it makes it so fun, is that we're very non-traditional. We're outsiders. And I think, whether you're an outsider or an underdog, usually that's something that people tend to embrace. And so, we've got both. Maybe we are an underdog and we're outsiders at the same time. So, for me, my background was, sports before this, but mainly politics, public policy sort of work. And, that was in stark contrast to the friendliness of people in Kentucky. That was an industry filled with sharp elbows and midnight shivs, and it was sometimes fairly thankless. But there are a lot of skills that I think I picked up and that I've parlayed into what we're doing now. And the same goes for my partners, as well. Jesse comes from the political world. Tim comes from, who was an attorney, was at Facebook when it was first gaining steam. And then Andy's family was in the distribution business for a very, very long time. So he was around it, but never really part of it. Mm-hmm. And Andy spent time in with cruise lines and in entertainment. And then Devin's a really, unique piece to our puzzle too, who's, he's the head of lifestyle design at Nike. And so, what do we all have in common? I guess, the connective tissue here is probably me. I knew everybody and pulled everybody together, but what we have in common is that we all love bourbon, kind of a baseline,
sure,
a baseline requirement,
mm-hmm.
Right? But we all have a unique perspective on how this can be done, and so I think one of the things that I like to talk about is this idea of the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if we were going to just do it the way it's always been done for 150 years, and we were going to order a bunch of stock wine bottles, and we were going to get, cream colored paper labels, and we were going to call it, Old Jeremy's or Ancient Renee's or very, very, very old Steve's. we felt like that had been done. We feel like these labels with script writing, that tell the whole story on something that seems like the size of a postage stamp doesn't really resonate with an audience that is growing and aging down and diversifying. And so we wanted to really take I guess, embrace that idea of being outsiders and apply that to a fresh perspective on what the future of a bourbon company could be.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about the brand and some of your products in a minute, but I want to go back to something that you said, which, talking about the different industries you all came from, and especially as you were referring to yours, most of those are not friendly, cohesive, collaborative industries. There is a bit of, we're all in this for ourselves and we're going to get ours and we're going to get our way and we're going to make sure it happens for us. And if you want to come along for the ride, just be sure that you're helping me out along the way. And which is fine. There's a lot of industries that work that way. But it seems like the more people that we talk to in Kentucky, especially in the bourbon industry, it's the only industry I think we've ever seen where people can be, in competition for the share of the wallet, share of stomach, however you want to describe it. But they are happy to do whatever they can to help their competitor. Their competitor could have a fire. Everyone jumps in. They could not be able to get barrels right now. People will sell the barrels so they can keep putting stuff in. They don't know how to get it still up and running. I'm going to take the afternoon off. I'm going to come help you out. I'm going to leave everything I'm doing. I'm going to take a phone call for 7-8 hours to walk you through how to get that going. It's like no other industry. So being from all these other different industries, did you find that sense of support and collaboration? And how was that feeling of, are these people authentic or what's going on here?
I feel it every day. Honestly, it's so it's so prevalent that, like, from the very beginning, when Steve was talking about Neely family distillery, right? They welcomed us with open arms. They helped us solve problems immediately. And they do to this day. And you can go down that list of people who we've known from the beginning, or people who we just met, who have gone out of their way to help, offer advice, help, in so many. I guess I can't really. You'd get bored if I opened the scroll and started talking about all the people and all the things they've done along the way to help us. But it's really refreshing. It's just, it's something that I'm not used to. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do this and take this plunge was because we'd all been working with or for people who, I don't know how to say this, in the most, I guess, friendly way, but a lot of us were taken for granted. A lot of us didn't have much more control of our destiny, or we just wanted to work with people we liked, right? Because, I know that some companies can be extraordinarily successful and not get along. They can be extraordinarily successful and, I guess, view or have different perspectives on how to approach a business, issues, future. We didn't really want that. We didn't want to have this path laid out for us that had already been done before, that would be dictated to us. And so we kind of had this unique vision for what the future could look like if we were in control of our own destiny. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but It was a fresh start. For me personally, I have always had this entrepreneurial itch. I wanted to figure out how to scratch it somehow. And, luckily Jesse and I started talking about this industry, and one thing led to another. But this was, for me, it was a foregone conclusion that there was a next step for me to take. And there was a new way to do things. And that's one of the things that excites me the most is the ability to look at issues or problems from a fresh perspective and not pull out the, Bourbon for Dummies, 101 sort of book that's like, oh, well, if you have this problem, then you do this. It's like, okay, we can look at an issue and say, this is how it's been done. Let's try this instead. And it's a collaborative approach internally for us to be able to talk about it and try to figure out what we want to do, how we want to go about it. And, we put a butterfly on our bottle. I don't think that's ever been done before. And that, hopefully that's not the last time that we will surprise people.
So that sort of leads to my question is, it's all about the branding really, because we know that your product source and, typically when companies or brands do source whiskey, they don't have a distillery or home for their fans to come and see. So branding really captivates them. And we know just from social media and those types of things that your brand has captured a wide audience. So can you talk to us about that, specifically about the name Blue Run and how you came up with this butterfly?
Sure, Renee. That's it's kind of fun to talk about. It's branding is, I think, part of the fun part. The initial theory was that we wanted people to walk into a bar or walk into Jeremy's den here and look at this and point at it and say, what is that? Mm-hmm. Right? It's supposed to stand out. It needs to pop. And, also not make it so incredibly difficult to pronounce, like, many of the scotches that you'll see on a bar where it's like, how do you pronounce that one that starts with an L? And then you feel a little bit weird about ordering it because maybe you're going to mispronounce it. The bartender might, you think the bartender might judge you for not being able to say Lafroig or something like that. And so, we wanted to kind of find a minimalist approach that popped. As for the name, I mentioned earlier, Jesse grew up in Georgetown, and it's a meaningful place for Jesse. It's very meaningful for his family. He grew up across the street from Elijah Craig's property. Of course, no longer there. They have a little bit of an age gap between them. Yeah, just a little bit of a gap.
Closer to Steve's age.
Yeah, right. It's like Renee to Steve, and but it was really cool for Jesse and John because they could stand on their front porch, and on a windy day they could toss a frisbee and hit Elijah Craig's door, and so. From the very beginning, Georgetown was an important place for them. What Elijah Craig credited with, providing a lot of the flavor and the quality for his bourbon was water that came from something called the Royal Spring, and that is in Georgetown as well. It's across the street again from Jesse's house, and when Jesse was growing up, he called it the Blue Run because I guess that Elijah Craig had a church called the Blue Run Baptist Church, and so somehow maybe it was Jesse's parents put that in his mind. I'm not sure, but Royal Spring was called the Blue Run, and it's very picturesque. I would suggest everybody go check it out. It's changed a lot since. I think since Elijah Craig was using that water in his own barrels, but the butterfly is not only the Viceroy is the state butterfly, but the butterfly is really a sign of change and metamorphosis, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the not only the look and feel of what a bourbon company could be, but we're trying to kind of widen the audience of people who are interested in bourbon. For so long, Renee, companies have marketed toward a very specific, a very, very specific segment of the consumer population. And we think that that's missing. It's really missing the opportunity. And it's not embracing what the community already is. The bourbon community doesn't necessarily look like Steve, Jeremy, and myself. It also looks like you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
right?
I like that you brought that up, because a lot of companies, what they try to do is when they try to market to different demographics, they do it in such an obvious bastardizing way where they'll just put a female on the bottle and change the name so that it represents like a female name. So I can appreciate what you're saying, because it's not an obscure, but it's just it's a nice way to make it known that you're appealing to not just one particular demographic.
Yeah, it's bourbon for everybody is probably the way to think about it. We intentionally didn't create a pink bottle, for example, right? And I think that's probably what you were alluding to. That's not the way I think to do this. The way to do this is to be able to communicate and speak with consumers in a way that's authentic, in a way that resonates with people. I don't believe that there is a ton of brand affinity for people who are, let's say, sub 50 years old. Maybe it is for a daily pour. But when you look at the 21, I guess maybe the 21 to call it 50, I mean, that's a pretty big age range. But I think there's a lot of brand affinity that's up for grabs. And so we're attempting to say, hey, here we are. This is what we stand for. We're going to have a bottle that looks phenomenal on your shelf. But we believe that the liquid inside is going to be better than the bottle looks on the outside. And so that's our value proposition is, jump on board, experience this journey with us.
Yeah. It's funny because as you talk about that, there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of brands that they have a cool looking bottle or a tinted shade of glass. They've got a big label. There may be some heritage with someone affiliated to the brand that they got to hang their hat on or try to tell a story, or they try to come up with some historical relevance to, give it some history with the brand. In your case, I like the story. I like the message in the branding. The representation in your logo is very specific. But at the same time, it's a very, as you mentioned, it's a minimalistic approach to the layout on the bottle, and you're showcasing completely what's inside the bottle. It's one of the few that when you see on the shelf, you're seeing 95% of what's in the bottle versus being covered by a label on the front and the back. And to me, that's pretty much putting it out there to say, if you know what you're looking for, and if you're looking to try something good, here we are.
I love that you've noticed that. I love that you've said that. Devin did go for a very minimalistic sort of design, and he did so intentionally. We want the experience of purchasing a bottle, popping a bottle, to be no different than I think that feeling that you get when you open an Apple product, right? Minimalist, simple design, yet it feels elevated. It looks elevated. And that's really what we're aiming for. I think Devin has done a really good job of putting this packaging together. And if you go back and you look at some of our other releases that, especially some of those that come with a box, like the 12 days that we did over the holidays this past year, or the 13 and a half year in the black box, that opens with the Lambo doors. It's everything everything's different, and it needs to be different. Right. And so to me, different also evokes the idea of fun. It evokes the idea of standing out. It kind of conjures the idea of, I mentioned this earlier, this elevated experience, right? We don't want this to feel like you're buying a $20 bottle on the bottom shelf. We want this to feel like it's a moment. And we've all been through moments over the past couple of years where we're looking for something new. We're looking for something to distract us from whatever sort of malaise that has kind of entered our worlds. And so we're open to be part of that kind of, I don't know, reawakening.
Yeah. So, your branding gets us to buy the product, but the whiskey, keeps us to continually buy that product. You guys have done a really nice job of securing some interesting stock. Can you tell us about tracking down whiskey in today's climate where, simply sourcing whiskey, sourcing bourbon isn't as easy as it sounds?
It sounds like a fun gig, right? You're just buying whiskey.
Yeah. Man, it's so fun. It's so fun. It's just so easy. You just walk into a bunch of different rick houses and you point and they put it, on a truck and away you go. But Renee, one of the first things that Jim Rutledge said to us was that the way the bottle looks will get people to buy there first. The way it tastes will get them coming back. And you're right, and he was right, and that is something that we don't forget. And so sourcing is incredibly hard. We've missed out on some amazing opportunities because, we didn't have the capital ready to deploy at a moment's notice. It's almost like, the nuclear football and the launch codes. And if you're not ready to wire money right now, sometimes you lose the barrels. So that's part of it. Availability has been incredibly challenging. When we first started, I think the industry wasn't quite as on fire as it is now, not quite. But then we also have these two world-class palates. And so I spent a lot of my time sourcing. And so we'll get samples and Jim and Shaylin Gammon, who's our new whiskey director. She's a superstar. You guys should really have her on. She's much more entertaining than me. So Jim and Shaylin will taste them and we'll get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'll go back to early on, there was some 15-year available, and you'll see some 15-year that's out on the market now. And Jim had tasted this before Shaylin was on board. Jim had tasted it and he called me back and he said, "Mike, this tastes like pine tar. I feel like I'm sucking on a Louisville Slugger." I said, "Is that good?" So that's a yes. And he said, "No, that's a no." So, we passed on some 15-year, we passed on a handful of other potential acquisitions. I think in the first year, Jim probably said no to 98% of the samples that we sent him. But of the 2% that he did say yes to, I made sure that those happened because it's very rare for a palate like his to find something that meets or exceeds his expectations. And it's the same with Shaylin. I find that with Shaylin and Jim, their kind of stock answer is no, right? That's the go-to. The go-to is no, right? But the other day, Shaylin tasted something and she said, "That's unique." And so I paused. I thought, okay, what does that mean? So I asked her, I'm like, is
Right.
is that unique good or unique bad? And she's like, that's unique good. So we have a new descriptor in our lexicon here, which is unique. And I think that's, in a way, that's what we've been offering people so far, are unique releases, unique expressions that allow them to taste something that doesn't feel like or doesn't taste like a product that they could get ad nauseum at any store in North America.
Yeah.
And so, the barrels that were contract distilled by Jim at Castle and Key, the high rye barrels, especially, we think those are, we think they're phenomenal, and they really play well in a number of different ways. Sourcing is a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but I think we've been lucky enough to do it very well so far. And I do want to focus on lucky. We're lucky to have Jim. We're lucky to have Shaylin, and we're lucky to have the opportunities to experience some of these barrels. There will always be barrels that I'm going to regret not getting. That I'll go to my grave saying, "Oh man, I wish we had those." But there are always going to be different opportunities, and whether the market is tight or it's loosened up, and hopefully it does loosen up a little bit, we're going to be very active in that. Now, having said that, we also are laying down new barrels all the time. We did our first run, and I think Steve knows this. We did our first run at Castle and Key in 2020. Since then, we've spent a lot of time at Bardstown Bourbon Company, and we make sure that Jim is there, and now Shaylin's there, and so we're going to have these additional sets of expert eyes on the process, and hopefully we'll continue to create unique products as we go.
I'm so glad to hear you talk about Jim Rutledge like this. I mean, we're at this interesting, I think, time in this industry because bourbon soared, then flatlined, and then in the late 90s, 2000 began to have a heartbeat again, and we've started to see this continue to grow and grow and grow over the last 2 decades. And for some people who have been involved in the industry for a long time, we have this almost like unbelievable fortunate opportunity to have these individuals accessible. You've got the Jim Rutledge, you've got the late Al Young, you've got Jimmy Russell, you got Eddie Russell, you got Chris Morris. I mean, these people are the Babe Ruths and the DiMaggios in the baseball world, but they're in our own age and time right now. And some people are fortunate enough to meet them and have a conversation with them. But in your case, you're working with Jim Rutledge. This is like working with one of the all-time greats. This is like Babe Ruth and just hanging out with them and working with them. So, what was that decision? How'd that come out? And how, you've spoken obviously very highly about it. So we know it's critical to the business, but what does that meant for you guys? And how's that going to keep moving forward for you?
Well, Jeremy, I think I'm going to start on a personal level. Jim is an amazing person. He's an amazing human being. He's got the biggest heart of anyone I think I've ever met. He's got an incredible amount of patience. Jim has, I honestly can't even believe I'm going to say this. But Jim, somebody who I looked up to for the longest time, has become a friend.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it is crazy. It's like things like this don't happen.
Right.
If you go, the only thing I can really liken it to, Jeremy talks about, the Yankees and Murderers Row. And we kind of live in that era right now. In my era, it would be like, hanging out with Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the closest I can get to it, or Ken Griffey Jr. You know, if you put it into to kind of a sports frame. So Jim, on a personal level, is one of the kindest people that anyone could ever want to or hope to meet. You know, from a business perspective, Jim's, as far as I'm concerned, the best there ever was. And we had this chance encounter to meet Jim, and it was Tim on our team who had the audacity, or the cojones, or however you want to describe it, to ask Jim if he'd work with us. And I remember after Tim asked that question, the room got silent. Nobody said anything. And, you know, you can hear when, you know, I could count the seconds by the number of like, you know, by my heartbeat, you know, and I thought that everybody in the room could hear my heart just start pounding, boom, 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 like the second hand on a clock. You know, and I'm sure that my bald head here started sweating a little bit. My palms were certainly clammy, and he kind of nodded his head for a second. He said, "Yeah, sure, yeah, I could work with you guys." You know,
that's about when you take the yes and you run with it. You don't ask any more questions. Just say he said yes.
Right. You just
sign them up for all the committees.
Right. And, you know, I think we were all in shock because that was not the expected outcome. Mm-hmm. But I think Jim liked our vision for where we were heading. I think that he liked our team. He especially clicked with Jesse very, very early in the early days. And that was phenomenal. And so, though, what always felt like a long shot became reality for us. I don't think those things usually happen. You know, maybe it was, you know, the stars were just fully aligned. Right day, right time, right place, right mood. We ate the right thing for breakfast. I don't know what it was. But we really, you know, we cleared the bases with that one. That was phenomenal.
Well,
we're very lucky.
It's often said people like to do business with people they like. So clearly there was a good, strong relationship and a bond there that was established early along. And it's just been fortuitous, I think, for everybody involved.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we can talk about the branding and we can talk about the label and the relationship with Jim all we want, but really people still enjoy good whiskey. So let's talk a little bit about your portfolio a little bit and your product offering and how that kind of connects with, as you've described, people that like to try things that are unique.
Okay. Well, you know, we launched with a 13-year, which of course all new bourbon companies do.
Sure. Right.
They're always on the shelf. Yeah,
exactly. We just we cracked into our own personal supply of 13-year barrels, and no, we didn't do that. Like Renee and I were talking about earlier, we sourced those barrels, but they're special. We think they're special. I know Steve has had it. He might have had it straight out of the barrel.
Oh yeah, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, Steve was there for our first bottling.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty amazing. But you know, we had this progression from the 13-year to the 13.5-year single barrels, and I think that as we went, there were two releases of 13 years. So we had the fall and the winter. And when people compare the fall and the winter, everybody seems to have a favorite between the two, because there is a flavor profile differential. And then we bring in these 13.5-year single barrels that really kind of ramp that up even more so. And have you guys had those? Have you tasted any of the single barrels? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're great.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're great, and they're so different and so unique. And when you juxtapose the 13 years releases with 13 and a half year single barrels, the difference in proof from 113 proof up to cask strength really makes it a whole different experience. Then we did the 14 year, and we've done a handful of releases of high rye bourbon, and we did the single barrels of the high rye bourbon. We have this new product that's out on shelves now, and Renee, hopefully it'll be in Canada here very shortly.
Oh, nice!
Hopefully,
called Reflection. And when you kind of look across the spectrum of all these different products that we've put out, they are all very unique. They stand on their own, but there's something different in it for everyone. Reflection isn't going to be the type of product that you're going to, if you're looking for something like the 13 and a half year single barrel that's as thick as molasses, you might not want to go for Reflection that day. But on the flip side, if you don't feel like a fork and a steak knife to drink your bourbon, and sometimes we all have moments like that too, then you're going to want to go with Reflection, because you could have 2 or 3 or 4 of them. It's really approachable. It's an easy sipper. And so I think across the spectrum, there's something for everyone on any given day. And we're going to try to continue to do that. We also are big fans of what we call limited time offerings, or LTOs, that keep people on their toes. Right. We think that there are going to be the staple products that you can go into a liquor barn or a Westport, Jeremy, and pick up, any day of the week. But there are also going to be these fun sort of Easter eggy style surprises along the way that keep you on your toes, that want that kind of provide people the opportunity to go find something new, to try something new. It's kind of the idea of surprise and delight. And so we're going to keep marching down that path in a way that hopefully will keep people happy and keep them on their toes.
Yeah. Mike, you guys were doing, I would say great out of the gate. And again, there for the first bottling, get to then start seeing it on the shelves. As I'm going to Kentucky, it's amazing the number of liquor stores it starts appearing upon. Things are going really good. But you then go into the next. You're probably thinking you're doing as good as you can be doing. You're on cruise control, heading down the highway, just heading towards your destination, doing great. And then you start winning these awards at San Francisco, and then there's a whole new stratosphere you didn't even know existed, and now you're traveling in that, and your products are being coveted on the secondary market. This whole thing that you don't often see with a newer source brand, and this is happening to you guys, and people are calling me, want to know if you have any of that kind of. Have you tried it? There's this excitement about it. And so take us through that journey. What's that like as this happens to you?
Well, tell me, do you have any of it? Because if you do, I'll take
I know.
some, Steve.
I had one of the first bottles right off the first, but I drank it. I guess I'm an idiot or a brilliant. I don't know, but I drank it.
Well, the thing is, we couldn't have known, right?
Right.
You couldn't have known. We didn't know. We didn't. It's all kind of a surprise in a way. I mean, it's not like we went through this and we thought, okay, hey, we'll see if it works or not. No, we're fully invested in the fact that it was going to work. We're so far ahead of any sort of projections that we put together. And that's really fun. It's surprising, but it's fun. We're really, I guess we're really pleased with the progress that we've made, but there's so much more to do. You talk about the awards. San Francisco, Steve, we thought, because we'd never been involved with the process, we thought it was just simply pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
right? So at the time, I remember talking to Jesse about it and saying, do we really want to send them 2 bottles of this, of each,
right,
each release? We're talking the 13.5-year single barrels, which we had very few of, the 14-year, which we had very little of, and Golden Rye, which hadn't even been bottled yet. And so he said, yeah, let's just go, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And so we submitted these bottles to the San Francisco International Spirits Competition, and we didn't know what to do. We just kind of submitted it, and submit and forget kind of was the way it worked for us, right? And we thought that the big boys would write these big checks and their products would win, and that's the way it worked. Well, it turns out that's not the way it works. Right. And, you have some great palates from around the world who all fly in and taste these blind, and shockingly, the 13.5-year and the 14-year both won best in class, double gold, completely unexpected. But as I like to say, I think the San Francisco Awards show put us on the map.
I agree.
In a way that we never could have expected.
Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint a moment, but I think that was your moment where you go from, this kind of little niche where it's this buzz about it to just everyone knows about it then. Yeah. And it felt like, really overnight. And since then, we've been able to submit another product to San Francisco, which took home a double gold. That's the cask strength rye. We submitted some bottles to the SIP Awards and took home a handful of double golds. I think they call them platinum there, which is a higher level for them. We still have no expectations. We believe our products are good. We like them. We wouldn't put anything into a bottle that we weren't willing to stand behind ourselves or drink at any time, anywhere. But we're really pleased that the, I guess, general public has embraced our releases as much as or has liked them as much as we have. It's really a good feeling. I guess so.
Yeah.
One of the other exciting things, you guys just do everything right over at bluerunspirits.com. You have a merchandise shop and you're wearing one of the sweatshirts today. This stuff's fantastic. So how do you guys do this? Is it a collaborative effort? Is there one person that's responsible for your merch? How does all that stuff work?
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to give all credit to Devin McKinney. He's I'm going to give 99% of it to Devin and another 1% to John McKnight. So Devin is the designer. He's the Nike guy. He's got the vision for clothing, apparel, footwear, whatever comes out of that amazing design shop that he has. And so we really take his leadership, his guidance on that, and he's got free reign. The rest of us don't know. There are days where I'm lucky to, match my belt and my shoes, for example, right? And get it right. But Devin's just got this feeling. He's got this idea of what people want, what's cool, what will look good, what will feel good, right? Because, I guess a sweatshirt or a t-shirt can look great, but if it feels like burlap, we're not going to really wear it more than once, I think. So he's done a phenomenal job with that. And we're just scratching the surface at this point in time. If you go look around Instagram, you're going to see some people wearing some polo shirts. That's just a 1.0 release that we're not even selling. You'll see people wearing a black hat with a black butterfly on it. We're not selling those yet either. Those are and those hats are a creation of John McKnight. And they're so subtle, which is what I really like about them. A black hat with a black butterfly. And it's one of those, I guess, situations where if you know, right? If you walk past somebody who's wearing a Blue Run hat, doesn't say Blue Run on it anywhere, but if you're a Blue Run fan also, you're going to say, where did you get that?
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking on the
Right.
website and I'm waiting for that cream colored sweatshirt to come back in stock.
Oh, the cream colored sweatshirt, Renee. that is the most requested item.
Really?
And
Oh my God.
yeah,
It's fantastic.
yeah, and it's got, I don't know if you guys can see this. It's going to
Got
be
a butterfly
impossible
on
here.
the sleeve. It's got
Oh,
a
yeah,
butterfly
there it is.
on the sleeve.
Yep.
On the sleeve.
Yeah.
But the cream colored sweatshirt was in high demand, and unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, they've been incredibly hard to get more of. But we're going to keep trying, and hopefully we can get one of those out to you.
Yeah. Do you guys ship to Canada then with that?
We could ship merch to Canada. I wish we could ship bottles. That would be amazing.
Right, that would be nice. But
well, don't I wish that too? Don't I wish that too?
Yeah.
But in terms of the merchandise, you guys ship to Canada just for anyone who may be in Canada wanting to buy it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
So speaking a little bit about buying the product, where are you guys distributed right now, and can people actually order it online?
Okay, good question, Jeremy. People can order it online. They can go to sealbox.com or bluerunspirits.com/shop. There should be some reflection that's still available online. As far as distribution, we're in 15 states, I believe, at the moment, and Canada. We're going to be expanding outside of, I guess, I think we're in Alberta right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that expansion is coming. I promise it's coming. And St. Martin, of course, where Steve likes to drink bourbon.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Nice. So, you've talked about sourcing, and sourcing, it's had this cult, underground cult following early on. Then it became this taboo. No one wanted to talk about it. Then all of a sudden it's like, there's some great companies out there sourcing and making the product their own. And now there's good and bad in every industry, but it seems like the people that are doing it well, because they're looking for something, as you said, unique. They're looking for something that follows their vision of what they want to put out there. And those companies that are doing it are also doing it very, very well. But I think most companies that have gone down this path have also realized it's getting harder and harder. And if we don't lay down some of our own stock somewhere, we're just setting ourselves up to have continued shortages down the road. So you've talked about having barrels that you laid down at Castle and Key. I think you've done some at Bardstown Bourbon Company as well. Then the logical question always seems to come up. At what point are you decide to go completely broke and build your own distillery? Is that something on the cards, or is that?
It was originally outside the vision for sure. It started to percolate a little bit more. I can't tell you that we're leaning one way or the other at the moment, but the idea of controlling our own destiny is something that's, and this is just coming from me personally, is personally appealing. If you go knock on the doors of most, well, let's just say most distilleries in Kentucky, and we don't, we're a Kentucky only company, by the way. Excuse me. So if you knock on most doors of most distillery doors, they're going to say, hey, we're full through 2024 or 2025 or 2027. So get in line. And that makes it very difficult, right? Because when you look at the cost per barrel of new make versus sourced, there's a big discrepancy. And I think the educated consumer certainly knows that. And so it would be great at some point in time in the future if we were able to control our own destiny, where we could lay down as many barrels as we wanted, when we wanted, during the season we wanted. So I wouldn't say there's I'll just put it the way. There's I guess a non-zero chance that we've been thinking about it.
Yeah. You're right. At some point you want to be able to control your own destiny, but as you talk to people that are researching that, the supply chain issues continue downstream, whether you're saying, okay, it'd be great to have my own still and my own place to age them, but now we got to get a source of getting to be able to buy barrels on a consistent level. And now I've got to get farmers who can consistently deliver these, grains at the volume I can use. And it seems to be it's one challenge after another because everyone's looking for to solve the same problem. But it sounds like, at least for the time being, you guys have got some solid plans to keep you going for the near term.
Yeah, I think we've got some solid plans and some solid relationships in place. You're right. When it comes down to cooperage, supply chain issues are a big deal at the moment. When it comes down to grains and availability and the war in Ukraine, everything's affecting everything.
Yeah.
Your company is in rapid growth mode right now. Literally, you just released something last week announcing 3 new executives, and there have been quite a few similar announcements in the last few months. How challenging is it for you all to just run your company at this moment?
I think it's been a challenge since day one, but it's a challenge that we've all really accepted. There aren't many days where at the end of the day, we kind of kick back and say, man, that day sucked and I never want to do it again. It could be that day sucked and I want to do it again immediately. I, for one, feel like it's been a long time since I'd been able to wake up every day and just want to jump out, almost levitate out of bed and get moving. And so that's really fun, but growth is hard. I was reading an article the other night that someone wrote about growth and how all these startups will talk about, almost like a badge of honor to say, we've grown from, the original founders to 500 employees or, 1,000 employees. And I don't think that is actually the metric by which success is gauged. Smart growth is important. Yeah, we have 3 new people who are fantastic, but taking the time to integrate them culturally takes time to bring them in to our systems. And, it's not like our systems we're not even 2 years old yet. So not everything is so fully ingrained that we can't change anything. They may have new ideas and new ways to do things that we have to embrace as well. And so change is really just constant. But we want to make sure we're not over our skis. We're not growing so quickly that we can't absorb that growth and do so in a really effectively smart way, I guess. I don't know how to say that better, but if you grow too quickly, it can be detrimental. And so we're really trying to embrace the idea of slow and steady, even though it seems like our products are not coming slow and steady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This seems like Target should have taken this business plan because they launched in Canada several years ago, and they put a Target everywhere. And they grew too fast. They couldn't keep up with distribution. And guess how many Targets are in Canada right now? 0. So I think the way your business model and approach to business is good, because it seems like, let's just get everywhere as fast as we can and let's grow and let's do this. But, if you can't keep up with the demand or, all of the other things that go along with running a business, what was the point of that? So I can appreciate what you just said.
Yeah. And we got some advice early on, going back to one of the earlier questions about people helping you out. We got some advice from a luminary in the industry who gave us just that advice, which was, you may think you want a 50-state strategy immediately, but I'm going to tell you right now, you don't.
No.
And we thought, well, why not? And he said, because you can't manage it. Mm-hmm. You can't support it. Right? you don't know what's going on. You've got to have these relationships with the distributors. You need to know who your consumers are. You need to support the retailers. And so even 15 states for us right now in the US feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're in this really strange, public health world also, where we haven't been able to, we didn't launch the way we expected to launch. We expected to have much more of a focus on on-premise, restaurants, bars, hotels than we did. And we completely shifted that to off-premise because of the pandemic. Everything's different, but, we're rolling with the punches and trying to make sure that we actually benefit from these decisions that we're making, and that consumers benefit from these decisions we're making along with us.
Yeah. So on the show, we love scoop. We love to know things before anybody else knows them, and we love to share them with our listeners. So do you have anything up and coming that hasn't
All right,
been
yes, here we go.
shared, or any
Here we go.
releases
It's
that
gonna
you
be big.
can, yeah,
Oh, it's got to be big, huh?
anything. I was
going to tell you about the 35 year, but I probably won't tell you about
The
that.
35 year.
Well, I can tell you we have another rye release that's coming this year. It's going to be called Emerald.
Okay.
And I think people are going to like it. I've actually got a little sample of it right here, which has, oh boy, it's nice. It's got a very inviting, got a fruity floral nose to it that I personally don't usually tie that to a rye. But I think it's going to be, I guess a good counterpunch to the golden rye that we released last year.
Awesome.
Very nice.
That's good. We love it. Yeah, we're taking
Yeah, that, and I'm going to start growing my beard. I'm going to become, Colonel Ackley 2.0.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'll tell you where to get the glasses too. So
Would you?
now the hat is available at abvnetwork.com. So you got that to so
You should put the glasses up on ABV Network also.
we should, yeah. They should.
Oh,
We always say, I only wear Tommy Bahama. They need to sponsor us, but I can't. We had some guy wrote a letter or an email and said, copied me in, and they never responded. So they should, though.
Wow.
I mean,
They really should.
Yeah,
We should start a petition.
I know. I think so. We'll
Maybe if this was like the rum show or something more that Caribbean flair, they might go for it.
Yeah, this is the what's the ABV in a frozen daiquiri?
Oh yeah,
Bourbon slush. The bourbon slush.
The bourbon slush, yeah.
Well, we got the bourbon
There you
slush.
go.
Yeah. So we can compete with that. We can make this.
Yeah, you should
got
get one.
it.
Steve, if you got one of those machines in the background
Yeah.
there that just, I don't know what those are called, but a slushy machine.
Yes.
Right. That's not a bad idea. I'll have that in the background, and it'll be branded Tommy Bahama, so that people will be drawn to it. So that's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
All right, Mike. The last question, big one here. Where do you go from here? How big can this thing get, or what are you guys looking to accomplish? So basically, what does the future hold for you?
Well, it's a really good question. I think the future is, it's unknown. But what we really want to do is we want to keep pushing products out that people like, first and foremost. The goal is that we do at least one release per quarter, at least.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we really like to jam a bunch of products into the holiday months as well. And maybe that continues. But I think the idea is that we'd like to increase the scale of our core products, the high rye bourbon and the reflection bourbon. And you'll see various iterations of reflection as we go. You'll notice on the bottle it says reflection Roman numeral 1. And the reason we did that is because Shaylin's going to continue to play with that formula. And although I think we all really like Reflection 1, so hint, go grab a case of that if you can get it, and or 2 cases. We're going to do a batch 2 of Reflection 1, but you'll see those core sort of staple products continue to roll out, and then we get into the LTOs, and perhaps you'll, over the next handful of years, you'll see a little bit more aged product coming out. And, hopefully we can balance these needs and wants and desires of the whiskey consumer, for these old and new and, unique and different. But we're going to attempt to continue this path of slow growth, of smart growth. And, hopefully we'll be on shelves near all of your listeners at some point in time.
Very nice. Well, Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. And please don't be a stranger as you get things coming up. Please, we would love to have you back on and, to keep us updated. And anytime you'd like, feel free to reach out and we'll get you on the show. Okay.
Nothing would make me happier. It's really fun to hang out with you guys. I got to tell you.
Absolutely.
So
our pleasure.
I want to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much, my friend. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Such a nice guy, isn't he?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny because people don't hear this, but a lot of times we'll have these interviews and we'll have some conversations with them after we let them go. I think we could have talked for Mike for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we probably talked to him another half hour after it ended. So, yeah, and it was a longer one of our interviews anyway. So yeah, and that's what we always say too. It's awkward that sometimes people just hang up as soon as the interview's over, and we always feel weird. But Mike, it was.
Oh no, he looked like he was going to press the button. He was wanting to press the button, but I think we were glad he stayed.
Yeah, he used some restraint. Yeah. So it was definitely a great interview, and hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to that and hearing all the cool things that Blue Run has going on and a little bit more about who they are. So I think that was cool too, to find out all the different players behind the scenes and what they do and how this thing's all coming together. All right. Well, what we'll do next, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, it'll be time for news with Jeremy Shell. We'll do that in just a few.
Hello, my name is Paul Russo. I am a member of the ABV Network Brew Club. Members get a lot of great benefits like exclusive events, first crack at limited public events, discounts at local distilleries, bars, and restaurants, and a real sense of community via the group's private Facebook page. Get signed up at abvnetwork.com/club.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bourbon Show. It's time for our favorite segment, the news with Jeremy Shell.
All right. So the biggest news in bourbon was the announcement made at the grand opening of the new Fred Noe Craft Distillery. Freddie Noe was made officially as the 8th generation master distiller for the company. He will take the lead at the craft distillery and work with his father at Jim Beam.
We're not saying the other one. We're not saying the long name. Yeah.
You know what, Freddie? Yeah. Fred, great job. Happy for you, for everybody there. Freddie's going to do an outstanding job. Freddie, whatever you can do from a lobbying standpoint, it's Jim Beam.
Yes, Jim Beam. That's the company.
Yeah.
That's the company.
Guys, I don't know if you felt the same, but like when I saw this, I felt like very parental over this. Like just hearing this, I felt like, like how proud Sandy would have felt, or
right.
I just felt very like
we know him so well.
The best photo was it was a great picture. Freddie was up there on stage talking, and they got a picture of baby Booker just sitting there with a big grin on his face, staring at his dad.
Yeah.
And that was outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's a great moment. What about when he and his father were crying? I mean, gosh.
Oh, when Fred No couldn't even get it out at the end.
Fred No, and then you see Freddie's wiping tears, and it's like, my gosh, what a moment this is.
What a great moment. We love that family. I think we all love them equally, from the oldest to the youngest. Just any news from them is just so good, great, exciting news for us.
I'm going to put that picture of Booker staring up at his dad up there in one of the most iconic photos ever. It's kind of like JFK with the child underneath the presidential desk. It's just iconic and priceless, and it couldn't have been more perfect the way it was. So congratulations, and it's still have to say it's Jim Beam.
Jim Beam.
All right, so Missouri's McCormick Distillery was founded in 1856 and is the oldest distillery west of the Mississippi. They're coming out with a new 6-year Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. The retail price should be around $50.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one with the history of that distillery and the fact, a brand that sourced products for a lot of other people and did all the crazy decanters, Elvis, and all this kind of stuff. They've got such a great history and really kind of low key. And I'm interested in trying this for $50. I'll give it a whirl. Why not? So
absolutely, have to give it a try.
Yeah.
All right, Jack Daniel's has 2 new whiskeys, a bonded Tennessee whiskey and a triple mash whiskey blend of straight whiskeys from the Jack Daniel's category. They're both coming in under $35.
Yeah, I like this story too because Jeremy, like I said, we're talking about they're coming after bourbon fans. I mean, to their credit, they're a smart company, and they still keep their Tennessee whiskey fans loyal. But they're also like, hey, let's go to the other side of the fence and grab some of those, whatever we can grab from the bourbon fans. Let's get them. And this is a perfect example. I mean, bottle and bond, it's not limited to bourbon by any means. It's not even limited to whiskey, but it's for the most part, it happens in the bourbon industry. So they got the bottle and bond, even the triple mash whiskey. I mean, that's Royce Neely has right on his level, triple distill, so it's like they're appealing to bourbon fans with this stuff. Yeah.
Well, if you follow the numbers, if you get into the reports that talks about whiskey, the category growth by brand, Jack Daniel's is still the largest brand out there, but they haven't been growing. It's actually been a little bit of a decline year after year after year, but the margin is such a big delta between them and who's in number 2. They could lose a lot and still be in first place, but you don't, as a company, you don't want to see your cash cow, your biggest brand, having some attrition year after year after year. So doing some of these things, it'll be interesting to see how these numbers sort of get addressed in the next year or two to see what impact does this really have on the bottom line of their case sales and what this means for them across the entire whiskey category.
Yeah.
And that'll be the real test. Is it working or not?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to end it on a little bit of sad news here today. Midnight Bourbon, the fan favorite during the Derby this past year, where he ended up in 6th place, has passed away from acute gastrointestinal distress.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I mean, you like these sort of, and of course, that was a favorite amongst bourbon fans. A lot of people, betting on it because of the name. And anytime you do that with the Derby and it's so closely tied to bourbon, people are going to do it. So yeah, that's definitely sad. And I hate to.
Definitely unfortunate.
Yeah. All right. Well, great show today, gang. As always, so glad we could have Renee here, and it just makes a great show even better. Right. We go from A's to A pluses when Renee's here, so that's great. So we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Renee, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Renee M. Howe.
All right, Jeremy.
Find me on Instagram or Twitter at Jeremy Shell.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. The important website, though, is abvnetwork.com. Please check it out because everything that we do is out there. All of our previous shows are out there. We put our newsletters out there, our blogs. Really, everything is home base, abvnetwork.com. Renee, anything else to say before we get out of here?
Well, I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and give us a 5-star review and include a comment. And if you like what we're doing, get involved with the show by heading over to patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right. Once again, great job today, gang. Special shout out to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Happy birthday. June 1st is the birthday of the Kentucky Commonwealth. And happy birthday to the Warden. Take care, everybody. We'll have a brand new show for you very soon. See ya.
Goodbye, everyone.
Ciao.
Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least is the ABV Barrel Shop. While we don't get to play in the allocated bourbon game because we aren't selling the other products you have to do to get those, we do have access via our friendships in the bourbon industry to some really cool stuff. Have you ever seen your favorite craft distiller selling some really cool limited offerings only in their gift shop? I'm talking things like the hazmat offering Distillery 291 did for their 10th anniversary, or Neely Family Distillery's upcoming Papaw's birthday barrel. They don't have enough of it to send it out to distributors, so they only sell it via their gift shop. Well, companies like Distillery 291 and Neely Family Distillery have agreed to sell us 2 or 3 cases of these offerings moving forward, meaning our store will have the access to some of the rarest whiskeys in the world. Way more difficult to come by than the allocated bourbon offerings with a national release. Yes, they will be extremely tough to come by, but if you're a customer of our store, you'll have a chance to get them. Get signed up for our email or text list over at abvbarrelshop.com so you don't miss out.
The Bourbon Show is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening. Cheers!
This has been a Steve Akeley production.